So in 4.4 we just did a basics, which is when we take the terms in a sequence and add them together. And so we're specifically going to talk about an arithmetic series today. So as a reminder, our formula for an arithmetic sequence is AN equals D times N minus 1 plus A1. And what this does is tell us what one specific term is in a sequence. So it might tell us what the 30th number is. And we're going to use that to find the sum of all of the terms. And so what we do is we're going to use sigma like we did in the last lesson, the E looking thing. And so at the bottom of sigma, we start with our first term, which will always be the first one. We're always going to start with the very first term. So we write n equals 1 on the bottom, because I'm going to start adding my first term. And then at the top of sigma is going to be the last term, or like however many you're asked to add together. And then we're also going to fill in the explicit formula to the side of it. So it's nothing really that much new. So on number 1, we're going to start by coming up with the formula for the sequence. So the formula that'll give us any term, AN equals, what's my common difference? 3. Then I have N minus 1 plus 5, my A1. And I do prefer that you go ahead and simplify this out. So distribute the 3 and then combine like terms. So that's the formula that's going to be put with sigma. On the bottom, I'm going to start with n equals 1. I'm going to add up the first 8 terms. So it's going to be from term 1 up through term 8. And then my formula goes there to the side. And I can just type that in the calculator. It's math 0. You can type an N, or if you want to just type an X, you can.
Why'd you use the 8?
Because it told me here the sum of the first 8 terms. And we get 124. Are there any questions? Number 2, we'll start by coming up with our formula. Technically, you don't have to simplify this to put it in sigma, but I am going to require that you do, just because I want you always in the habit of doing that, so you don't forget. So AN equals, what's my common difference? 5. N minus 1 plus 10. 5n minus 5 plus 10, which is 5n plus 5. Now I've got sigma. I am going to start with my first term. So n equals 1. Now this one, I wrote it a little bit different because I want you to see that your questions could be worded several different ways. It says evaluate S13. That means the sum of the first 13 terms. So I'm going to put a 13 at the top and 5n plus 5. And you get 520. Number 3. AN equals, what's my difference?
3.
Negative 2.
Oh.
And then n minus 1 goes in parentheses, and plus 1 goes at the end. Negative 2n plus 2 plus 1, which is negative 2n plus 3. So I'm going to find the sum of 20, the first 20 terms. So n equals 1 to 20. Negative 2n plus 3. Negative 360. If you've not done so already, I want you to go ahead and do number 4 by yourself. So the sum of the first 34 terms is negative 1,326. Now there is another way that you can get the sum, and personally I like sigma better, but there will be times where this formula is necessary. For example, if I give you the sum, but I ask maybe for n, I ask for the number of terms, there's no way that you can do that with sigma. So this formula is necessary. You don't have to use it all the time, but we are going to practice with it. And so that formula, and that blank series is the sum of the sequence. We've said that a million times. But this formula, Sn equals, so the sum of however many terms, it's n over 2 times, and then in parentheses, a1 plus an. So we actually have to find n, a1, and an. N is my number of terms, so however many I'm adding together. A1 is the first term. And an, we're actually going to find the last term. So for example, if I ask you to find the sum of the first 8 terms, you actually have to know what that 8th number in the list is. So we will have to use our an formula for that. So number 5, Here's my series. I want to find the sum of the first 19 terms, and we're going to use this formula. So my n is what? What's n? 19. N is my number of terms that I'm adding together. 19. What's A1? 2. The first term is 2. And then I have to find A19. You actually have to find the 19th term. And we can just plug that straight into our formula. So it's going to be D times n minus 1 plus A1. What's my difference? 2. I can go ahead and just plug in the 19. And then plus A1, which is also 2. What do we get?
30.
It is 38. Good. I can plug that into my formula. 19 over 2 times 2 plus 38. We get 380. If we had have used sigma, we would have got the same thing. Let's do another one like this. Number 6. It says evaluate S25, which means I'm finding the sum of the first 25 numbers. What's my n? 25. What's my A1? Negative 6. And then I actually need to find the last term, the 25th term. What's my difference?
Negative 13.
25th term is negative 318. And then we can just find the sum by doing 25 over 2 times negative 6 plus negative 318. Negative 4,050. Do you like sigma better? Yeah, I think it's easier. But we have 4 more examples. So I want you to do the odd ones using sigma and the even ones using that formula. Because you've got to stay familiar with both of them. So you can work on these 4 by yourself. Here are 5 and 6. The biggest mistakes that I saw with you all is simple math stuff. So a lot of people when you distributed, you didn't add correctly, something like that. So just be really careful with that, your simple math. Most of you had the process down. And then 7 and 8. You should have got on 7 and 8. If you had chosen either method, which I told you which ones to use, but if I gave you the option, you should get the same answer regardless. On questions like this where you only have to find the sum, that'll be up to you if you use sigma or if you use the formula. But when we're doing practice, I will make you do both so you stay familiar with both. But when we get down here on questions 9 and 10 and then the back, they're a little bit different because I gave you the sum, I gave you that last term, I gave you the first term. What I did not give you was your n, your number of terms. So you can't figure this out with sigma. So the formula is what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and start by just rewriting the formula to help. N over 2 times A1 plus AN. You do not have to have these formulas memorized. You will get a little formula sheet on the test. And I'm going to fill in the parts that I know. I know that SN is 468, so my sum is 468. I do not know N, but I do know 12 plus 92. And you can actually type this all into the calculator at once. So you can do,
2 times 12 plus 92?
well, no, the 2 would be on the bottom. It's on the, so it's going to be, you can do it this way, 12 plus 92 over 2. Because it's really like 1/2 of n. So it's really like 1/2 times n times 12 plus 92. But this is just the normal way that they write it out. And you get 52. Equals n times 52. I mean, you could do it in several steps, but if you can remember that you can do it all together, that's faster. So then how do I get n by itself? Divide by 52. So n equals what? 9. So let's try another one. I gave you the same information. So my sum is 150. N divided by 2 times 20 plus 40. And you could probably do that one in your head. What's 20 plus 40?
60.
Divided by 2? 30. So this right there is 30. And if you divide by 30, n equals 5. Two more examples, and that's it. Number 13, this time you're finding a n. So I've given you the sum, I've given you the number of terms, A1. What I have not given you is that last term in the sequence. So I'll rewrite the formula. negative 366 equals 12 over 2 times negative 3 plus an. What is 12 divided by 2? 6. So negative 366 equals 6 times negative 3 plus an. You could do a few things. You could distribute the 6 if you wanted. I don't think that's necessary. Instead, I would just go ahead and divide both sides by 6. Negative 61 equals negative 3 plus an. And how do I get an? Add 3. Negative 58 equals an. Are there any questions on that? And number 14 is basically the same as 13, except I gave you an and not a1, but the process is identical. So it's 1140 equals 5 divided by 2 times a1 plus 132. And you can technically just go ahead and divide by 5 over 2, or you can rewrite that as 2.5. Most people prefer a decimal over a fraction. So then if we divide both sides by 2.5,
Why would you not do 132 divided by 2.5?
well, this 2.5 gets distributed, so if I were to divide it out from both of those, technically I kind of am. If it's left in the front, you just divide it from the front. It's kind of like if I just had 2x. This is basically my x, so it's that times that. And if I subtract 132, I'm left with 324 equals a1.